Hello, everyone. I hope you can hear me. First of all, I would like to thank and salute the organizer of the International Rosa Luxemburg Conference. Thank them for inviting me to address you all. I've been asked to give you a sense of what is happening in the occupied Palestinian territory, especially in light of my analysis. We are today on the 824 day of genocide. And in as much as there is denialism of it, what worries me is the muting, the obscuring, the fact that it's still ongoing. For the past 3 months, we have been told that there is peace, that there is a ceasefire in Gaza. If it's true, how do we explain the fact that 400 people have been killed by Israeli fire in Gaza? How do you explain Israeli army's presence in more than 50% of the Gaza Strip? How will you explain the fact that Israel is continuing to demolish what remains of the 10% of residential homes and buildings that are still standing? Yes, you heard me well, 90% of the homes in Gaza have been either destroyed or made unlivable. How do we explain the fact that nearly 2 million people who remain in Gaza, who have not been killed, who have not been forced into a new exile, who have not been evacuated, who have not been disappeared, who have not been arrested and are currently detained in Israeli dungeons, most likely exposed to Israeli torture practices, which I'm currently investigating? Well, how do we explain that most of these people are left in the storms, unprotected, in makeshift tents that cannot resist the element, without adequate food, without water, without enough medicines, without hospitals, without schools? How can we explain that? How can we explain that only 30% of the basic necessities that were agreed upon as part of the ceasefire have entered Gaza, and mostly through commercial channels, so for purchase rather than aid? How we do explain that Israel has banned 37 aid organizations which are supposed to deliver aid? We can't explain this. We can't even have words to describe what's happening in Gaza. This is beyond anything that we have seen before, because not only this is a genocide that has been televised, so we can't even pretend as our ancestors did at the time of the Holocaust, we didn't know. We knew back then too, but now we know because it's easier, as the writer Arundhati Roy says, it's easier in the middle of the night, turn your hand toward the night table and find an image from your phone of a starving child or a killed child in Gaza than a glass of water. This is the reality. So the genocide is ongoing and is not even limited to Gaza. Israel is committing acts of genocide against the Palestinian people. A genocide is the destruction of a group as such with intent. So the intention to destroy a group as such, and destruction is intended physically or biologically, well, it has happened through acts of killing, through the infliction of conditions of life calculated to destroy the group, and through the infliction of severe bodily and mental harm. Of course, this is a textbook case of genocide, as Israeli historian Ras Sigal told very few days into the genocide in October 2023. How did he know? Because genocide scholars know how the climate for a genocide builds up. The dehumanization of the Palestinians was extreme already before October 7, 2023. But it has even grown after that, considering that today, again, 824 days into this, the world still doesn't react, and governments like yours and mine are the most complicit in Europe, not only because they are the second and third weapon provider, but also because they are the staunchest supporters of the defense of the State of Israel. And whatever kind of societal complex your society might have, it's really, this is the third genocide that the German people get involved with in 100, a little longer than 100 years. So it's very serious. And this is why I would like to recall a sentence by Rosa Luxemburg. She said during the period she was imprisoned during World War I feel at home in the entire world wherever there are clouds and birds and human tears. And sorry, this is not the quote I wanted to read. This is the one. She wrote, "Those who do not move do not notice their chains." So this is a very important point, because I think that today, while Palestine has awakened the conscience of many of us, I mean, people in my country are really making me proud of, because they have sustained protests, strikes, the BDS, the impact and the force, the presence of the BDS has grown so much stronger. People are really checking where they put their money in banks, so holding businesses accountable. There are lawyers protesting against the government. Of course, we shouldn't feel discouraged that change doesn't happen in one day, 1 month, or 1 year. This is a deep-rooted system of oppression. I mean, if Israel has been able to carry out a genocide for 2 years with the indifference at best, or the complicity of most Western countries, but also others, it's not by chance. It's because the system is rotten to the core. Politics is really separated from international law, which is not to say that international law doesn't work. It's to say that international law doesn't work automatically. It is to be activated, and if it's not by politicians, by the people. There are human rights experts from the UN, including myself, organizations like Amnesty International, Palestinian human rights organizations, Israeli human rights organizations, and so many, including in Germany, who have been taking such a strong stance to remind the meaning and functions of international law. But this doesn't happen. I mean, the application and the respect for international law doesn't happen if there is no popular push right now. And this is what is needed. We need a change, a dramatic change, and we need it to protect a world ordered premised upon human rights. This is not the first time that that humanity goes through something catastrophic, globally catastrophic. It has happened again. The system we have was born out of a war that caused tens of millions of victims, and the thing is that it produced a change. It produced an international law-based order that has not benefited everyone, but for us in the West, it has meant peace and stability. Now the system is on strain. Palestine has been a revealer of the huge crisis we are all part of, the cracking down of fundamental freedoms like the freedom to protest, the freedom to dissent, freedom of expression, freedom of opinion, freedom of association, which has seen one of its most appalling theaters right in Berlin, in Germany. This is a symptom of how deranged the system, how sick the system has become. The cure is there. The cure is us. We need to stay engaged strategically in a coordinated fashion. Everyone needs to do something ethical, ethical purchases, ethical sales, ethical procurements, ethical discussions. Try to know more, sensitize more people about Palestine. Yes, I know that it's a strong there are strong winds against. I mean, I could write an encyclopedia already with what can happen to you when you stand by the oppressor. No, when you side by the oppressed. But for people like me, there is no other way. I keep on thanking Palestine for making me a better person. It doesn't matter the sacrifice it takes. I'm someone who feels light in her conscience and right with her conscience, because I know I'm doing something that will not make me ashamed and will not make my kids ashamed. So this is something, I mean, I want to remind everyone that I was reading just today about the German reactions when, if this is a man, the scathing testimony by Primo Levi, an Auschwitz survivor, was published in Germany. Primo Levi was very, very keen to make sure, because he spoke German, and he checked the German translation word by word, because he was scared of alterations, unauthorized alterations. And the book came out the way he wanted. And it didn't become a success. Actually, he was received with indifference, with criticism. Many in Germany, until the Eichmann process, the Eichmann trial in the 60s, didn't come to the kind of awareness of the Holocaust and the social collective responsibility that it has then implied. So, but why am I saying that? Because I don't think that it's abnormal that many people deny that in Gaza there is a genocide. Denial of a genocide is part and parcel of a genocide, but this shall not discourage us. I want you to keep on focusing on what is bright at this moment. Is people who keep on fighting, who keep on resisting for justice. There was not such a thing 8 years ago. It was not us, the people, who liberated the victims in the concentration camps. No, it was not. It was the Russian army, and it took so long for those victims to be seen. So this is something that gives me hope today. There are so many people that realize that there is a genocide and change can happen. So let's stay strong, let's stay focused. The goal is end of the genocide and the accountability for it, end of the military occupation in the Gaza Strip, West Bank and East Jerusalem, and then end of the apartheid from the river to the sea. End of apartheid from the river to the sea. This is not asking for the erasure of Israel. This is asking for the erasure of apartheid. May this be the last apartheid regime of human history. I I'm the one who believes that Israel can exist other than by oppressing another people, than turning into a genocidal state. The problem is with those who defend Israel for what it is today, probably because they struggle to imagine that the Israelis can change and accept to live in a world where they have rights and not privileges at the expense of an entire people. Thank you.